When traders talk about risk management, stop-loss orders are often mentioned casually, almost as a technical checkbox, something you are supposed to use. In reality, stop-loss orders are not a technical tool at all. They are a psychological contract. A stop-loss is the moment where you decide in advance how much pain you are willing to accept in exchange for staying in the game. This is why stop-losses feel uncomfortable. They force honesty before emotion arrives, and most losses in trading do not come from bad analysis, but from refusing to be honest at the right moment. At its simplest, a stop-loss order automatically exits a position when price reaches a predefined level. That simplicity hides its true purpose. A stop-loss is not designed to protect you from being wrong. Being wrong is unavoidable. It is designed to protect you from being undisciplined when you are wrong. Without a stop-loss, every losing trade turns into a negotiation with yourself, and that negotiation is almost always biased toward hope. Hope is the most expensive emotion in markets. Many traders misunderstand stop-losses because they view them as a prediction tool. They place stops where they don't think price will go instead of where their idea is objectively invalidated. This subtle difference matters enormously. A stop-loss should not be placed where it feels comfortable. It should be placed where the original reason for the trade no longer makes sense. When a stop is aligned with thesis, invalidation taking the loss feels like execution, not failure. One of the biggest myths is that stop losses reduce profits. In isolation, they sometimes do. A stopped-out trade may later reverse and move in your original direction. This experience is emotionally painful and often leads traders to abandon stops entirely. What this view misses is that trading is not about single outcomes. It is about distribution of outcomes over hundreds of trades. Stop losses do not exist to make every trade work. They exist to ensure that no single trade can destroy weeks, months, or years of progress. Another common mistake is using stop losses without position sizing. A stop loss without proper sizing is just decoration. Risk is not defined by how many points away your stop is. It is defined by how much capital you lose if it is hit. Professional traders think in terms of percentage of account, at risk, not price distance. The stop defines where you are wrong. Position size defines how much that wrongness costs. Both must work together, or neither works at all. Stop-loss orders also protect something more fragile than capital decision quality. Large losses distort behavior. They create fear, hesitation, and revenge trading. Small controlled losses preserve clarity. Traders who use stops consistently can approach each new trade as a fresh decision rather than emotional baggage. Over time, this psychological stability becomes a competitive advantage that compounds quietly. It is also important to understand that stop losses are not all the same. Hard stops placed in the market behave differently from mental stops executed manually. Hard stops remove discretion, but expose you to slippage and volatility spikes. Mental stops require discipline, but allow flexibility in execution. Neither is inherently superior. What matters is consistency. The market does not punish one method more than the other. It punishes inconsistency. Volatility plays a critical role in stop-loss placement. Tight stops in volatile environments guarantee frustration. Wide stops in quiet environments waste capital. A professional reads volatility first, then places stops that respect the market's natural movement rather than fighting it. Stops should feel boring, not reactive. If your stops are constantly triggered within minutes by normal price noise, the problem is not the market, it is placement. Perhaps the most uncomfortable truth is this: stop losses make losing trades visible. Without them, losses can be delayed, disguised, or rationalized. With them, loss is immediate and undeniable. This is exactly why they work. They force feedback. Feedback is how skill is built. Traders who avoid stops often avoid feedback as well, and without feedback, improvement stalls. Stop losses also reinforce humility. Every stop acknowledges that your idea could be wrong. Markets reward those who respect uncertainty. Traders who refuse to accept small losses often end up accepting catastrophic ones. There is no third option. Risk must be paid either in small, controlled installments or in one devastating invoice. The irony is that traders who use stop losses will often feel calmer, not more anxious. Knowing the worst-case scenario in advance reduces emotional load. Uncertainty shrinks. Confidence grows not from being right, but from being prepared. This is why stop losses are a best friend, not an enemy. They stand between you and your worst impulses when pressure is highest. However, stop-loss orders are frequently misused, misunderstood, or applied mechanically without thought, which turns a protective tool into a source of frustration and overtrading and understanding. When stop-losses genuinely improve risk management, when they harm performance, and how to design them, so they support your strategy rather than sabotage. It is exactly where we need to go next, by examining when stop-loss orders truly act as your best friend, and when they quietly become your enemy. Because the difference is not the tool itself, but the intention and structure behind it. Stop-losses work best when they are integrated into a complete risk framework, where every trade begins with 3 decisions made in advance, where the idea is invalid, how much capital is at risk, and what the expected reward justifies that risk. In this context, the stop-loss is not a reaction to fear, but a boundary of logic. It defines the edge of your thesis, and nothing more. Stop-losses begin to fail when they are used as emotional insurance rather than analytical structure. Traders who place stops simply to feel safe often put them too close to price, guaranteeing repeated small losses from normal market noise. This creates a sense that the market is hunting stops, when in reality the trader is placing stops where they do not belong. A stop placed inside the market's natural volatility is not protection. It is friction. Over time, this misuse leads to overtrading frustration and loss of confidence in an otherwise sound strategy. Different trading styles require different stop-loss logic. Short-term traders must accept frequent small losses as a cost of doing business because speed demands precision. Swing traders need stops that allow room for structure to develop. Position traders often use wider thesis-based stops combined with smaller position sizes. There is no universal stop distance. The only correct stop is one that matches the time-frame volatility and logic of the trade. Copying someone else's stop placement without understanding their strategy is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your own. Another critical distinction is between protective stops and management stops. Protective stops define maximum loss. They should rarely change. Management stops trail price to protect unrealized gains once the trade works. Confusing the two leads to premature exits and regret. Professionals separate these functions clearly. They let trades breathe until structure changes, not until emotion spikes. Stop losses also require acceptance of randomness. Even perfectly placed stops will be hit on good ideas. This is not failure, it is variance. Traders who expect stops to prevent all pain are destined to abandon them. Traders who accept stops as tuition for staying solvent use them consistently. Consistency is what turns stop losses into allies rather than sources of resentment. Perhaps the most powerful role of a stop loss is behavioral containment. It prevents a single bad trade from escalating into a bad day, a bad week, or a broken mindset. Once a stop is hit, the decision is over. There is no debate, no rationalization. This closure protects mental capital, which is often more fragile than financial capital. Traders who protect their psychology trade better tomorrow, regardless of what happened today. In the long run, traders who survive and grow do not ask whether stop losses cost them money. They ask whether stop losses kept them in the game. The answer, almost without exception, is yes. Losses are inevitable. Ruin is optional. Stop losses exist to enforce that choice. If this perspective deepened your understanding of stop-loss orders, consider subscribing to stay with these long-form conversations, focused on discipline over drama, and leave a comment sharing the hardest part of using stop-losses for you personally. Because the point of maximum discomfort is often the point of maximum growth.